Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for the season finale of What If the Watcher Broke His Oath. So before we get into it, I of course have to ask this question. I would love to know your thoughts on it. But apparently they were like, you know what people want? They want Party Thor. They don't want to know what happens when Gammora kills Thanos. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see why in the world she was there with Steve, or not Steve, with Tony, who seemed like he was dressed up like he just came from like Thor Ragnarok, which I thought was really interesting because like all of his armor, I was like, that looks like he was on Sakaar with his armor. So I'm like, that's really interesting. Like there's a million things there that seem very fascinating, but instead we got a Party Thor episode where Thor just got drunk and got a tattoo and did nothing for an episode. That's what they thought we wanted, but we could have had Gammora. But they're like, we'll just throw her in the last episode. Nobody's gonna care. So that was interesting. That was a very idiotic choice to me. I mean, it's not like they cheaped out because they did a really big action sequence in the Thor episode. So it's like they could have done that. They could have put that much action into a Gammora episode and had the same amount of talking and everything. But instead, they gave us Thor. They gave us a Party Thor, and not Gammora kills Thanos. Thought that was worth noting because I mentioned it last time. I was like, I guess they're just gonna bring her in and we'll see what that is. And then the Watcher comes in, and it was literally like an episode we missed because he does the exact same thing with her as he does with everyone else, where he explains exactly what she did. And I was like, But they thought 30 minutes of Thor partying was the better idea. Interesting. All in all, though, great episode. Love the action. Love the callbacks to some of the other episodes. We got to see the Marvel zombies. We got to see Wanda zombie, which I thought was interesting, and she recognized Vision underneath the Ultron stuff. So that was actually a cool little moment. They obviously didn't, really touch on that, and I would assume that he killed her after that because she like paused because she recognized him like it's Vision, and then Ultron was like okay, and it seemed like he went nuclear and just like wiped the whole place out. So I thought that was a great reference. I thought that was pretty sweet. All the action was good. They of course have the characters, from every single episode. All the main characters get pulled in, and it was like, all right, this is pretty sweet. We start off with Captain Carter, and we get to see her actually dealing with Winter Soldier, which I thought was pretty cool. They actually give her sort of the Winter Soldier color, so it's really just her costume, but it's silver now. I didn't like it as much as Steve's actual Winter Soldier costume. I thought that's actually my favorite one. It's from the comics. It's his Director of Shield costume. Always thought that was my favorite costume because it looked so sweet. And for hers, it wasn't as cool because his was actually a different costume. Hers was just her original costume. They just made it silver instead. I was like, it didn't actually like change the design or anything. It was literally just the same thing. It was just all silver. So I was like, it doesn't look as cool when it's like it looked almost cluttered when everything's the same color. It looked really cluttered because I'm like, it's just it's obviously it's the flag. But I was like, all the lines going across each other just being the exact same color just makes it look cluttered instead of looking cool. As where Steve's was like, all right, instead, if like they did his Avengers 1 outfit and then they just made it blue and silver and he just had like a bunch of silver stripes on his stomach, I'd be like, that doesn't look sweet. That's not that cool. Like it just doesn't really work. So a little disappointed, and I was like, it's not as cool as her original costume. She does change her hair a little bit. I mean, it's not just a little bit. It's fairly different. So I thought that was cool too, because I was like, it's funny that they gave her that hairstyle, because I was like, it's not exactly Black Widow's hairstyle, because she does show up in this, because they do the opening to Winter Soldier. But I was like, it's like Black Widow's hair, but she just has more hair. That's how I felt, because I was like, it looks almost exactly the same. It's just like they put less strands of hair on the Black Widow model and just more hair on the Captain Carter model. Because I was like, I know it's technically different. It's not just like boom straight down. But I was like, I can't help it. It's like it looks like it's almost the same, just a different color and like a few more strands of hair, and it's just wider. That's how it felt. I was like, it looks exactly the same, but wider. Like maybe there's like some little piece off, and I was like, it's so close to being the exact same thing. It was just kind of funny. It was throwing me off a little. I was like, I just can't help it. I feel like they gave them the exact same hairstyle a little bit. But it was cool to see her come back, of course. We got to see everybody come back. It turns out all that craziness at the end of all those episodes was actually happening. Like, we go to T'Challa, and it was like, oh, so he was just wiping out the whole planet. They had to go back to Earth and try to save everything. He saves Star-Lord, or technically he just saves Peter. And it's like, you stay here, and then, of course, he's picked up. The end of Killmonger's episode, they actually do end up attacking him. So we have Shuri and Pepper, and they're actually running to the throne to like kill him off at the end. And I was like, this is kind of interesting, like showing them kind of jump to the ends. We even get to go back to the murder mystery episode after everything's all said and done. Black Widow doesn't have to go literally be the last thing in an entire galaxy. or universe, I should say, she actually gets put into the murder mystery episode where it's like, yeah, so these Avengers got killed off, and things are going a little wild, so you can help out here. And it's like, cool. Like, so it's like, yeah, everybody kind of got to go back to where they needed to be. But I thought it was pretty cool. The action was definitely great. I love, all the callbacks and kind of showing what actually did end up happening and how the characters were in all these different locations after, their episodes took place. Thor was actually still fighting other Ultrons, which still brings up my question from the last episode where I'm like, what was the deal with his episode ending that way and the Watcher was there, but somehow his episode doesn't tie into the last episode? I still find that like a really weird choice. They end on that very specific interdimensional cliffhanger, and he's still technically dealing with that when we go back to him in this one. But the Watcher seems like he's totally separated from that stuff. It's still really weird to me. I'm like, that just seemed like a weird choice. Like, they just forgot to put something in there where it was like, this totally connects, and it just doesn't anymore. It's just a weird thing. But they pick up all the characters, they go to the fancy bar, and they make a plan. Obviously, we have evil Doctor Strange as well. And so, they make a plan. They end up going to Ultron's world, which is where we end up seeing Black Widow show up. So that was pretty cool. And I just liked the way it was handled. I was like, all right, this is pretty sweet. They all get like fancy armor and stuff. They have their first battle on the empty planet. Then they actually go to his world. And, that's when Black Widow ends up coming in. Once they all get teleported in, she's holding up guns to everybody and stuff. So it was sweet. Like, they get the soul stone from him. And then it's just chaos. It's just back and forth. They're trying to beat him up. He's trying to get the one stone back. He kind of uses the other stone. I feel like, honestly, as many explosions as he was setting off, and he does like the one giant laser beam and stuff, I was just like, I feel like he would have won. I mean, honestly, he uses the time stone one time, and he does like the cool like slow-mo shockwave, and everybody's in slow motion except for Doctor Strange, who utilizes all his crazy demon powers very well in this episode. So I love that. I like the scene where he actually does the tentacle monster. I'm just going to call it Shumagorath, even though it seems like, unfortunately, it's not. I thought they were really going to hint towards it and just make it an official thing, but sadly, no. But he basically rolls into that, and they just show Peggy, like, looking at him like, huh, how about that? So I thought that was a pretty cool little moment, but all the action was great, seeing the characters actually team up and fight. Gammora had, like, a stone cruncher, which they referenced, oddly enough, they referenced the fact that all the stones are slightly different, but they don't go into that whole, like, why do the stones work throughout multiple, different universes, which I guess is just an MCU thing. That's not a comic thing. Just the TVA is different because it's in between. But if it's if it's in different universes, the stones apparently still work within this version of, the MCU, I guess. So, they go through it. It's like, all right, we succeeded. They drill into his body and everything, and then it's like, oh, we effed up. This doesn't work. And so, of course, they go through. They battle. And it was funny, like, right before they did, I was like, oh, well, if they're in this universe, and obviously we saw Black Widow, they should still have the arrow. Like, right as I was thinking that, they show the arrow, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, there it is. So they just have to do it again. Great scene, too. Like, I don't know why he's literally white. I don't know exactly what he was doing there, but for whatever reason, he was just glowing white like a spirit bomb. And, like, they have a really cool moment where Peggy has to go one way and Natasha has to go another way, and so she shoots up, shoots off the arrow, and Peggy just launches. It really didn't look like she was gonna make it. I knew she was, but just the way they did it, like, from the camera angles, I was like, it doesn't seem like she would make it far enough. Like, just the jump in general, it didn't seem like she'd make it. I knew she would, but I was like, the way they did it, it just made it seem like she didn't jump far enough when she did that leap. I was like, it just doesn't look like she really jumped that far. But obviously she did. Lands on him, rips it right up just in time, blows right through his eyeball, and of course, chaos ensues. He's destroyed. Here comes Killmonger, where it's like, what a shock. He comes in, he's the first person, as soon as he saw the helmet, he was like, that's some interesting technology. Spends the whole time figuring it out and everything. And they reference it like, do you trust him? And Thor's like, I trust everybody. So they just kind of brush right past it because he was an idiot. So that was pretty much it. That was the beginning and the end of suspicion. He comes up and is like, cool. Nanotechnology, I'm gonna just do this and then take the stones for myself. And he gives him a moment, because I thought for sure it was gonna be an automatic fight, but he was like, we can solve every problem in all of our worlds. It wasn't instantaneously like he was just poof, I'm the bad guy, I'm killing all you guys so I can take off. It was like, we can save everything. Like, Peggy, you can be with your guy. Like, T'Challa, like, we can save anybody we want. Like, every problem can be solved. And then, of course, it was like, well, we can't do that. It's like, this sucks, guys. And so, of course, he was going to be the villain again. But then Zola was like, hey, those belong to me. And because they both technically had control over, like, the nanotech where they could, move the stones back and forth, they're in a, interlocked little battle with the stones in the center. And then Steven's just like, oh, we weren't supposed to win. And then he just locks them in their own tiny dimension. And then he goes back to his dimension. And that was a crazy way to end it. That's not how I thought that was going to happen. It was literally just like, yeah, you got to just keep them trapped in this dimension forever. Like, they're just going to be in a constant back and forth little itty bitty pocket thing. And yeah, that's it. Just keep them here forever. And you sit here forever. And I'm going to go. I'm the watcher. Bye. And it was like, well, that's a way to end it. That's a way to end it. Everyone goes back to their hometown. Like I said, Black Widow ends up going to the murder mystery episode, which was actually really cool. And, Captain Marvel was there. Steve was there. Two people's not enough. I'm kind of shocked by that, honestly, even though it's only two people. Captain Marvel, she has some ridiculous power. I'm honestly shocked that she couldn't just, kill Loki, like, instantly. But she couldn't, apparently. So they go through it, and obviously Black Widow comes in, boom, hits him with a kick, thought you were dead, you too, or something like that. Boom, hits him with the stone, and then he's mind control. And I was like, I didn't realize it worked so easily. I didn't realize, like, everyone could do that. But I do think they show that somewhere in the first Avengers, because it may have been Black Widow, because she does actually use it in that movie. So she controls him, and then I guess that was it. Because once she got him, I'm like, well, it's over, right? That's the whole thing. So that was cool. Like, she gets to go to another universe and actually have humans to talk to. She won't be the last thing in the entire universe. So, happy endings for all. Then we get a post-credit sequence. I thought it was going to be bigger. I'll be honest. I thought it was going to be way more epic and intense. And then it was like, no, it's the Hydra Stomper, but also there's someone inside. I thought what they were going to do was just have Steve end up being the Winter Soldier, of course, which I thought was the reference even in that episode, but I guess he's just frozen inside of it the whole time. Who knows? I mean, I assume we get a season 2. They will continue the stories of, if not all, some of these characters. I would like to see the beginning of the story for Gammora, as I mentioned, because for whatever reason they just didn't think that was worth making, but Thor was. It's just really interesting to think about. But love the episode. Like I said, I was hoping for something epic. I think we all were. Like, okay, it's the last episode. What are they going to do? What are they going to reference? Is anything going to slightly reference? Honestly, for a split second in my head, I was like, what if just out of nowhere, the Loki, the old classic Loki from the Loki show showed up and was just like, boom, he just got like sent to them just out of nowhere, like from all the chaos and everything that was happening. What if he didn't actually get, kind of erased from all existence? He kind of got sent to another crazy destructive universe. That didn't happen, but I was just in my head, I was like, what if something just out of nowhere buck wild happened? Sadly, it didn't, but it's okay. It was still really fun to watch. This is definitely the one that is the furthest away from everything where, I think this is actually the first thing we've had in like the last 3 Marvel projects that wasn't like, hey, this thing is destroying the multiverse or has caused some other issue within the multiverse and stuff. So I was like, it's already taking place in the multiverse, but they handled it so it won't affect the movies and stuff. And I was like, well, at least they solved that problem. Everybody else is just effing up left and right. So at least in What If, they actually solved the multiversal problem before it just, wrecked everything else. So that was nice. They solved the problem that everyone else is just going to be screwing up in live action. So it'll be fun to see. But I did enjoy the season finale. I am looking forward to season 2. Some of these I definitely want to continue. Without a doubt, the Captain Carter stuff is my favorite. I like her story the most. And I think... I feel like the Killmonger stuff is pretty much done. Like, once he goes back, like, they literally say, like, you're going to go right back to where you were. I don't think he's going to defeat all those people. I know he has, like, the armor and stuff, but I'm like, if it got that bad, I think he's caught. I think his story is pretty much set and done. If they don't straight up kill him, he's captured. Like, I think it's over for that dude. So, I think his story's done, but I would love to see the Gammora stuff for season 2. I wouldn't mind seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff like continue and they actually bring Peter on and they make a different version of his character. I think that would be cool to see. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen in season 2, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll probably get a bunch of just brand new stories as well. I'm sure we'll be getting some new stuff because, excuse me, at this point, everything from What If is what we've already seen. And so now going forward, we have obviously Shang-Chi just came out. We have the Eternals coming out, whatever, who knows if they'll be adding new characters as far as, in Spider-Man. I doubt they'll be throwing in a brand new character that's going forward, but we could see that. And then we have, of course, a bunch of other movies and stuff coming out. So everything going forward in What If could be based on the newer property. So we could see even more stories like, what if Shang-Chi took over, the Ten Rings and stuff like that? What if he became the villain? The little stuff like that. So this was all based on the last 10 years, and now going forward, they could be like, all right, well, what if we did this, and what if we did that as well? And maybe they could touch on Spider-Man. We'll see how this stuff goes with Sony, but maybe we'll get like some Spider-Man specific episodes. Who knows? So some new things coming up that we may or may not see in the new movie. I can't really talk about it, but if you've seen certain stuff recently, you know what I mean. We may or may not see some what if episodes based off of that. But all in all, I would love to know your thoughts on the season finale. Did it excite you? Did it disappoint you? I thought the action was great, but story-wise, I would love to know what you guys thought. Were you hoping that we would get something epic? Like, if you had any expectations, I would love to know what you guys had. Like, if you had some wild predictions or you just wanted to see something happen, I would love to know what it was. But I think what they did was fairly decent. Wasn't Winter Soldier style, not like I was expecting. It was the Hydra Stomper. But I still like to see that story continue, just to see what they do. And clearly, literally, the first episode ends and she's in Avengers 1. And then this episode starts, which, if I'm not mistaken, is right before Avengers 2. Yeah, because I think Age of Ultron is when things kind of really fall apart. So, this is right before that. So I was like, they've already done the Avengers stuff. We don't know exactly if everything else is the same. I would assume it's not. Like, just the Iron Man stuff in general, I would assume would be at least somewhat different because of what they did in the past. So I'd love to see, like, her whole universe. I would like to see that whole thing end up playing out. But either way, we'll let me know your thoughts for this season as a whole, the season finale, and what do you guys want to see for season 2? Like I said, we got new characters now. We got Shang-Chi, we got the Eternals. Not sure what they could do for what if the Eternals. I guess what if they jumped into Avengers 1? What if they literally did anything? At this point, that could be like a whole season. What if they just did something? But we'd love to know what you guys want to see for season 2. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.